how do you actually start a new account during the Silver Wolf banner period? So basically, as you can see that the Contract Zero walk now has these characters, Danheng, Asta, and Serval, and you can get the Eidolons by just pulling this event, which I'm going to try one more time. And nothing. Okay. So basically the idea here is to get the Eidolons for these characters, where Danheng will be your main win DPS character, and main reason why we are going to focus on Danheng is because he is the only win DPS in the game so far, currently. And so, starting a new account, we're going to focus on Danheng as well as his traces, which we are at Trailblaze level 19 now, so we need to get to Equilibrium 1 in order to unlock his first upgrades here, his first ability. So that's pretty much the idea of pulling the banner. And so how do you actually start the account in this period? So you will have to go through the tutorial missions, you will have to go through the beginning, complete the story events, as well as the side quests, do all the side quests as fast as possible, and then you will be using your Trailblaze power, which is been refreshed. So you will want to use this onto the Calixes and all of that. So how do you actually start your teams then? That's a good question. So if you want to start a new account, your first character here during the departure walk will most of the time be Bronya as your first priority pick. Not Yanqing, not Bailu, it's Bronya. Straightforward. So if you're lucky enough, you can replace Trailblazer Physical with Sushang, which I've already did here. And let me give you advice, don't squander your resources on relics. Do not do that, especially in the early game, it's not worth it. But only squander a little bit on the main relic stats for like crit rate and for like attack. Yeah, so try to focus onto your main DPS relics first. Then only you move on to the other relics. Like everything here is still 0, still 0, 0, 0. So you want to focus on your relics first. Your physical DPS relics first. So if let's say you have Serval, then you replace your relics from your physical unit to your erudition electric unit, lightning unit. So I'll just keep replacing here and there because Musketeer of Wildweed is actually quite a universal set for the beginning. So if you want to use Serval as your DPS, you will switch your team and put Serval instead of Sushang here. And then for your hyper carry team, you want to put Asta in instead of Natasha. No, instead of March. So basically a team like this. So this is your hyper carry team for boss fights if Natasha can heal properly. But most of the time you will be running a healer, as well as Bronya herself, and your main DPS, which is in my case Danheng, Serval, or Sushang. Very, very simple. So that's how you start the start a free-to-play account. And for all these nameless honors, try to do it as fast as you can. Finish this week's missions as much as you can. This period's mission also is very, very important. So yeah, so you will need to finish and get your Trailblaze level as high as you can, especially to 21, so that especially Trailblaze 21 is important because you will need to get King Chue in here for your quantum DPS break. And try to finish this as fast as possible. So, and if you get Serval, right, Seriousness of Breakfast is going to be your best light code in slot for her at the moment. So you get Seriousness of Breakfast for Serval, as well as get Natasha as quickly as possible because she's going to be your main healer even in Memory of Chaos. And for these characters, right, don't go for the light cone specifically unless it is a 4-star. And for machine cogs, right, if you ever get machine cogs, try to make it as high level as possible. Try to focus on machine cogs because you're going to use machine cogs even in Memory of Chaos 01 to 05 at least for the most part. Because what I can tell you from a Memory of Chaos clearer from 01 to 08 so far, I have been using a level 70 machine cogs S5, and right now I haven't been able to get a S5, so I want to get S5 as quickly as possible for Bronya, and this is her best light code in slot for a pure support character. Natasha just put Cornucopia for now. March 7 you can choose within We Are Wildfire, or you can choose Amber for your shields, or you can go with the defense here, which is every time you use an ultimate, you will recover HP. So these are the 3 good light cones for March 7th. But most likely you will be sticking with a 4-star light cone, or if you don't want to, that's totally fine. You can use Amber and superimposition it all the way to 5, which will give you a 32% defense straight off the bat. Okay, so for your light cone for your other DPS characters, you will want to swap this thing around your sub DPS characters. So for example, Su Shang is Hunt, so I will use the same light cone for Dan Heng. Do not... Okay, what I mean is that do not put in River Flows in Spring and upgrade it all the way. Don't do that. And by the way, River Flow in Spring is a bait light cone. Do not use this light cone. It's really bad, especially for early game, because there will a lot of trash ads around the area, as well as the boss during the early stages. They like to have AoE damage, so it really defeats the purpose of putting River Flows in Spring in your main light cone. So River Flow in Spring is actually a really bad light cone that you should just bench it. Right, so that's pretty much for account advice and character setup, as well as the teams and all. And now we have to talk about character leveling here. Is very important. Try to get all these as much as possible. Go to your assignments and religiously log into the game and just put in credits or whatever you need most. But in the early game, since you have so much credits, right, I suggest that you do these two: Akashic Records and Nameless Land, Nameless People, so you can get those materials. Because in early game you will be lacking materials, but you will get a lot of credits in early game, so you shouldn't farm this one. You should farm these two first. That's your main priority. Then, only then, if you manage to get another slot in, then you will put the third slot as your credit farm. Done. So pretty much settled here. And one other advice I can give you is the shops. See these shops here? If you visit these shops here, and pretty much you want to not buy anything from the shop here. Don't buy the Shadow of Destruction Eidolons. These are pretty bad. But only buy them if, let's say, you don't have Su Shang and you really rely on your physical MC, your physical DPS characters, and you need physical DPS characters. Reason why is because weakness break of physical is very prominent in early stages of the game. So I suggest not spending on your Eidolons here, but saving your points here, your shields, for these ones. These are particularly important in the early game. So save and save and save for these ones. At least 400 shield. And then for the rest of your shield, you can spend on adventure logs as well as whatever you need most here. But whatever you do not buy the lost gold fragments because you don't want to be relic leveling and in the early game. That's my advice I can give you. But if you need materials for like your tracers, then go for these ones. But I suggest that you don't spend on these just yet. Don't spend on the 40 shield ones just yet. But you might want to focus on silver main badge and ancient part as much as possible if you want to. But I suggest you save 400 shields for these ones right here. These sets here, very important. Right, done. So the next shop I would like to discuss is the one in the space station, and it will be right here. Talk to Ronald Mcdonald, and then you will have to save your Hertarium for adventure logs, as well as your 4-piece musketeer set right here. These particular ones here are very important for early game. Very important. So save at least 200 shield for these ones. The rest of them you can distribute equally. And as usual, do not buy the Eidolons because it's a waste of your shield. Okay, so that's done for Ronald McDonald. So next, your simulated universe, which is here. You will finish the closed alpha and beta tests, and once you're done, you will unlock World 1 as your real so-called simulated universe world. And you don't want to farm World 1 as much as you can, but you should finish your story as fast as possible. And whatever you do, if you get stuck on the boss stage like what I did in the early game, like for example level 20 characters and no light cones, right? You don't want to touch World 1 at all. You want to finish the story missions first. And then for World 2 here, you might want to ignore it for now because why so? Your recommended team is now level 35 and your team is pretty much too under level to counter the bosses and all at this early stage. And simulated universe is not the priority for leveling up as well as farming, since everything here is like level 1, level 2, and then you're probably almost 0 relics, plus 0, 0, 0, 0. So you should not go to simulated universe to farm. But if you really need to, then simulated universe 1 only after you get past the Steeler and Bronya reconciliation stage on some of the story levels. The part where Steeler and Bronya spends their time on the kindergarten, that part there, you are pretty safe to start simulated universe. But before that, don't do it because it's a waste of time. Pretty much my advice here. And once you get to Trailblaze level 21, I'm not sure if that's the case, but the museum and Star Hunt game will unlock. And then you want to also do your aptitude showcase here, all of them. Which reminds me, I still need to do the Serval one. And for your Trailblazing, we'll try to get to at least level 15 as fast as possible. And that is what I did within 1 or 2 days. I can't remember, maybe 2 days? Because I started this account like 2 days ago. So this is pretty much it. That's all the stuff I got on my free-to-play account. So I'm starting this free-to-play account on an Asia server, and as you can see, it looks something like this. Pretty much it. And for your birthday, I can give you one hint. Set the same birthday as when you created your account or when you are playing right now, so that you can gain 100 Stellar Jades immediately. That's pretty much the first steps you want to do that. Okay, pretty much done.